team's key witness took the stand today. Continued somewhat contentious stuff. Testy cross-examination. 19-year-old Rachel Jeantel had deleted some unsavory tweets we saw a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about that, but let's get the experts in here. Get a little curveball every once in a while on live television. You know what I mean, on the other thing. So let's get right into it. We had Rachel still testifying today. We do have a little piece of sound. Let's take a listen to some of the testimony that happened today.
What makes that racial?
That wouldn't make that racial. It was made that racial.
What's one thing about what Trayvon Martin told you that made you think this was racial?
Describing the person.
Pardon me?
Describing the person.
I just didn't.
Describing the person that was watching him and following him.
Okay, experts here now. Obviously, we had some moments there where, well, it's not, English isn't her first language, she says, so we're having to repeat over and over again, and it's perhaps making her come across rude, but again, it's not her first language, and she's grown up in a pretty interesting environment as well.
Yeah, Haitian, and it's complicated, and she admitted today because there was a cursive letter that she actually wrote to Sabrina, and it turns out she didn't write it, and she can't read cursive, and she can't write, and so there is some functional illiteracy there too, which is really sad. And I said yesterday she's 21, I think she's 19.
Right.
And you know, it's tragic, but you know, again, the disrespect is a whole nother issue, but you know, it's sad.
And Richard, she is one of the crucial witnesses for the state. How does her testimony impact the state's case? I mean, do you think it helps it?
Well, it's funny. It's a very good question because in the very beginning, with the way the state plays it, it comes across very well and very helpful for the prosecution. I think the defense stayed a little too long with her. I think at some level you get in, you get your points where she changed her testimony, where she lied about this. Right. She admitted to lying about that. She tried to cover for this. She was sitting next to the mom and tried to change this. You go ahead and get that out, lay it out there, and get out. The longer you stay up there, as John was saying, people start feeling sorry for her. I mean, you start to become sympathetic for her. And all of a sudden, the people that thought she would maybe have been a liar and was not being truthful are starting to feel bad for her. So it's a fine line for the state right now.
Cross-examination was 5.5 hours. And again, you know, surgeons don't operate with a hacksaw, and neither should lawyers.
You know, and the cultural differences, we got to understand there are cultural differences, and the facts still don't get lost, and I hope it doesn't when it comes down to time for the jury to actually deliberate this whole thing. Also, other witnesses, I mean, this is being covered gavel to gavel by everybody, including us, so she might come across as this star when it's all said and done, but other witnesses today, including a neighbor of Trayvon Martin who actually placed that 911 call. We heard some of the alarming and haunting even 911 tapes, the call itself, where you can hear the gunshot, you can hear screams. I guess that's going to be another key piece of evidence. No experts, so it's up to the jury to decide who's screaming. Guys, what do you think?
It is, and so far the witnesses have gone well, and the one witness that made the 911 call kind of led the jury to believe that it was Trayvon screaming, although then she got impeached because she was a Twitter fan of the brother, Robert Zimmerman, even though she had never tweeted. It was kind of lost in some of it.
And that's one of the things I found fascinating in this trial is the role that social media, it's a new era, and you're seeing jurors during jury selection question about their Facebook comments. You see a witness taking the stand being questioned about who she follows on Twitter, and then shortly after, the newspaper there was reporting that Twitter account was deleted, but it does play a role.
It absolutely does play a role. As a matter of fact, it's played a huge role in two of the cases that I actually have had here locally that we found out after the fact that something had happened, and so those are issues that we have to look out for. Judges are trying to be very conscientious about. The lawyers are starting to really track it, to monitor it, because people, you know, they want to be a part of this, and they don't necessarily tell the truth all the time, and they can't stop themselves from getting onto that social media.
All right, guys, clear something up for me. When we say a witness has been impeached, break it down, just like with the social media situation.
I mean, traditionally, well, the social media is an obvious one. I mean, when you impeach a witness goes forward and says, the light was red, or no, I don't follow him on Twitter. Well, let me show you this document. Isn't it true that this is your name, this is your face? It's impeaching him. They're allowed to say the stuff, but the question is, what is the jury going to give them as far as weight and credibility and believability? So it's just like earlier today and yesterday, she said a number of things that we ultimately found out she admitted she lied, or she admitted she changed her testimony. That's impeaching. The jury's going, I can't can't believe this person.
And as far as both of those witnesses go, the judge said they're still under subpoena and they could be called back to testify. Is that likely, John, to happen?
Yeah, in this case, you know, and even Mark O'Meara said it in his press conference today, they still haven't decided if Zimmerman's going to testify.
Right.
And that's going to be key to see whether they can exert their will, impeach, and bring forward enough that they don't have to put up Zimmerman, because if they put him up, it's going to be a long time up there.
And any thoughts on when this is going to wrap up?
Well, I thought it was going to go a little bit quicker, but obviously I didn't anticipate this long of a cross-examination with her. I think tomorrow, if the state hits the ground running and the witnesses that are not going to be too long, I still think, you know, Monday or Tuesday, I think the state should rest.
Okay.
They're taking July 4th off. They're taking Saturdays off. Okay. And so the way that with the forensic evidence that Mark O'Meara is basically saying it was the halfway point that he thought for the state. So I think we're going to get into that third week.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. Remember, we'd have a whole section of our website dedicated to the George Zimmerman trial. We'd love for you to vote on our poll questions.
And we just posted some new ones just about 15 minutes ago, so go check those out and give us your opinions. Well, still ahead.